Welcome, everyone, to today's installment of Women of All Generations. I'm very excited to be here with Brittany Phillips, and we were just sharing that we feel like we've swum in the same pond for a long time and know of each other, but you guys get to hang out with us while we get to know each other a little bit better. So, Brittany, why
Yes,
don't you
totally.
tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Brittany Phillips, and I have a brand design firm here in Fayetteville. It's called Brittany Phillips Design. It's intentionally small, just me, but I work on the co-working model where I can source creatives and partners project to project to kind of keep that client experience lean and personal. So that's sort of how I've built my business. I've been going on 16 years out on my own. And before that, kind of came up through the creative departments of regional ad agencies and design firms, first being at Blackwood Martin for several years in the early 2000s, which was a great experience. And then I did some full-time contract work for Saatchi and Saatchi X. So kind of had that global experience, big brands, shopper marketing, and then did that enough to know that I didn't want to build the career doing that necessarily and was more drawn to smaller special client work, and then went to work at DOCSA in 2007 and worked there until I went out on my own and was incredible experience. Obviously, Tim Walker is a friend of mine and a huge mentor, and wouldn't be able to do what I do on this level if I had not had that experience. That's kind of the professional experience, but on the personal side, I grew up in Dallas and went to college here in 1994, and then basically never left. And so I'm the only one from my family not still in that area, so we're there a lot, but it's it's really such an easy place to work and grow and raise a family. So I have a wife, Erin Von Felt, and 2 kids, Parker and Ryder, so they're 13 and 10 now.
Super fun. You lead up my next question, which is Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas have a way to just getting into your soul. And what is it about this community that has made you stay and really decide to put down your roots and build your family here?
Well, I think just the size is super important. I think the values of this, especially neighborhood community, downtown Fayetteville, and a little bit beyond. Our kids have gone to Washington Elementary, and just how I think like-minded and special this group is. I think you can find from a business side, I think you can find those clients that are doing interesting, important work and be able to work for them in a way that it would be as easy to do in a bigger pond. So I love that. I love the nature aspect. I love how pretty it is here. I think it was at the time I came here, to me, it was so affordable. We were able to buy a lot and build a house in 2017 that I don't think we'd be able to do that now as much. It'd be harder now, but we feel like we got in a space where it was just everything we wanted. And so I work out of the house, but also at Chamber Fayetteville a lot too. So I'm kind of back and forth between those two office spaces. And we're right on the trail. That's a big part of our life. It's just this kind of urban experience. We share a car we have for 8 years, and we just love all that that has to offer, and been so excited to be a part of the growth as well, like just enjoying the ramble and just all the library expansion, just all the things down here that are so unique and special. It's a good fit.
That's fantastic. It's been fun. I came in 91 to
Okay.
college and stayed, and I like couldn't imagine leaving. And when my daughter Sammy, now she is, giant Fayetteville just fan, she in high school is like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go to grade 13, the University of Arkansas."
Yeah.
And I just was horrified. Like, how would you not know that this is the most wonderful, magical place on the planet? And anyway, I solved that by showing her the less magical places she could go to college, and she did decide to stay as
Yeah.
well, and I think we're so lucky, and I joke now and again and say, "Stop putting us on the list. Everybody knows about us. We're fine."
Totally. I was just working on an ad campaign for regional, like, actually, a big part of one of the campaigns we pitched was about that, like, we were here before
It was
the
cool to
list,
be here.
before everybody, yeah, exactly, before we made the list, we were already here. Already here was kind of the name of it, so that was kind of fun to play with.
I love that. So, tell us about a moment in your career where you We're gonna kinda get the whole point of these Her Story is not to just wax poetic about how much we love Fayetteville. We also wanna kind of hear and, like, hope to be able to teach some people some things, and so would love to hear from you, like, when was a time in your career where you're like, "I don't belong in this room. This is not the space I'm supposed to be in," but you still have to, like, show up, and you still have to perform, and you have to, like, kind of own that space, take that space. Like, what is give me an example of a time when that happened to you.
Yeah, I think this is probably a little bit more general, but I would find, especially in my earlier days, it being such a male dominated industry that I would feel like my perspective wasn't always being heard, or there were so many facets being missed because of that. And I feel like that caused frustration certain times. And I think it also gave me kind of an opportunity to gently and warmly educate in many ways. Like, okay, well, here, this might be another perspective, or have you thought about it this way? And so I kind of try and look at it at a positive way. So after you kind of burn off the frustration, why not just go in and say and see what kind of change you can make?
We do have to spend a lot of time working out that frustration.
Yeah. I mean, it's really true. It's not quite what it once was, but it is in many ways.
Yeah, it's we've come a long way. So I want to think about if you could sit down with every young woman who's just starting their career in Fayetteville right now and tell her one thing about what this community has to offer, how she could navigate these next, 20, 30 years of her career. What advice would you give her?
I think the best advice and I run into young designers a lot who are right out of school looking for a job, and I'm not the place for them. So I have an opportunity to guide, and I'm like, just go learn, go find someone you admire their work and you like what they're doing, even if it's from the outside, and go work for them and learn from them, because you can't do this until you see it done, I don't think. Not well. I think that that's always my advice to a young designer out of art school who's ready to think they're ready to go out on their own, or they think that they're not sure what is next. They need to go find a mentor that they can watch. They can watch run a business. They can watch run a creative department. They can watch anything they do. If they're a writer, they can find someone that they read locally that they really like their content, and then just go learn and be humble enough to understand that you have a lot to learn, and it can be a rich experience and process. And there's going to be tough moments where you don't feel ready and you don't feel comfortable and you feel like the low rung on the ladder, and you are, but try and embrace that as you won't always be. But I think that's really important in our field, in any field, really.
Love that because there's an element where I feel like when you're especially new in a job scene, you have to walk such a fine line of like, you have to have enough confidence to get the interview and get the job. And you have to really promote that you're confident. And then we kind of ask you to shift gears, right?
Yeah.
And then immediately become confident in your humility and your
Yeah.
willingness to learn and your ability, and it's a pivot. It's a pretty not hard pivot.
Yeah, and probably also just to, like, embrace the process. Like, I remember in my career feeling several times like I wasn't getting anywhere, or I wasn't moving up, or, forward enough, but looking back, you really always were.
Have you had the experience where you get into a situation and something comes up and you're like, wow, I had that thing that happened like 15 years ago that felt super random, and now I'm so glad I had this random experience, and maybe it came from a time when you were like not feeling like you're moving up.
Yes. I mean, I think totally, especially like in detail work, there's a lot of it there. Early on, maybe this is just real industry focused, but maybe early on you were prepping files a lot and it got boring because it wasn't even your work necessarily. But that detail work that you were so put off by, and like it would be 6 months before I did one thing creative because of so much production work in it. It was like devastating in many ways, but to now be able to look at those files and know from many projects of looking at detailed files and knowing how they need to go to press and looking for those red flags of what could go wrong and making sure you're communicating with the vendor before and after you see something through and all of that, like we'll click sometimes, crop marks and just making sure your file is set right and things like that that become second nature, but they sure weren't at first.
Yeah. So many scars and
Yeah. You get burnt.
and skint
If
knees.
you screw something up, you learn a lot.
My goodness, I will tell my team, and it's probably different than other podcasts in this series, but I will tell my team sometime, I'm like, I promise you, if I have a policy or if I have a fanaticism about why we're doing certain thing, I had a bad experience and I probably
And it
lost some
costs you.
money.
Yeah.
And and so you're not gonna spend my money twice. If I already lost the money once, then we're gonna do that different.
Oh, God, yes.
Okay, so since people can't come and work for you, what does a typical Tuesday look like? I want to understand what this is real life.
Typically, like right now, I'm managing several projects, troubleshooting on a website, like a kind of technical issue. So, working with a developer, all virtual there, and overseeing that from a project development standpoint that's really completely out of the creative world. Working with the CPA to make sure everything was right for taxes. So, there's that part of it. And project work. So, client communication all the time. Where's this? Where are we with this? What about this idea? So really enjoying that process as well. I mean, that's really what I love the most is that personal relationship that you can build over years to really, you become their valued partner when it goes right. And that is something I take really seriously and think is super important. And I value a lot and I do everything I can to keep that in check and keep that right on. And so as projects move along and new ones come up, just continuing to foster that and bring your ideas, bring your expertise, bring what you think is the right for their brand and for their business and continue to advise. That's kind of a day in, day out. So I'll be designing, right now I've got a trade show booth going, a pretty involved one. We just wrapped up a children's book for a pediatric specialty practice that was real specific to a giveaway for kids who are going through this kind of really tedious medical procedure. So that was really special and I think could lead to some more work. I think there's a real opportunity for that to go on maybe to other practices in other medical fields. So that was kind of cool and different. Brand work for local businesses like City of Fayetteville Trash and Recycling is a super important client of mine. Romance Diamond I've got going on. Chamber Fayetteville, always lots of good projects going on where we're starting to really dig into the women of all generations, applying that branding to this year's event and what that magazine will look like and that sort of things. Just good work with good people.
Super fun. Well, that's a lot of work stuff. Let's kick over. What's a work-life balance hack? Something that really works that can help people juggling more than just the work side.
Exactly. I wish I had the answer for that one, but I'll that was hard. It's especially when you work from home, you battle that, I think. But I kind of face it with I can be available when it's important to my clients because I can almost always be available for my family. So there's that kind of freedom because I'm not locked into somebody else's kind of schedule and I don't have to sit at somebody else's desk that I can move. I took 4 13-year-olds this morning from this neck of the woods to the Jones Center for a school event. And so that was like super loud way to start the morning. And then I hit hit a coffee shop and got a little work done, and then I'll be here when they walk through the door every afternoon, which is a huge deal to me and a big part of why this format works. And I don't have to travel for work too much anymore, and that's kind of nice because I think that's pretty disruptive in this regular school week. And we try not to overschedule. That's another big part of our kind of motto. We say no to things that we don't feel like are right for the balance week, or we pivot when the kids obviously need a night at home with our attention and kind of really think about it when it's time to join a new team or hobby. because of that time constraint. And we're kind of working on running on all cylinders when we're home. And I think work is handled. And then we have that evening time to reset for the next day. And everybody kind of has their job that, it's whether to go to school or run the house or run the business to run it all. So it's just like everybody's got their job. But I think that the balance for me, it has a lot to do with being able to be here for, if client needs me after hours, it's not that big a deal because I could have done XYZ for home during the day if needed.
You know what's interesting is as I listen to the description of what works, the word that I hear is restraint. And I think, how cool is that for design? Like I just said, we're going to transition from career, but it's like you've designed your life, and when we're in design, what we don't put in is as important as what we do put in. And
It
I have
really
clients
is.
that want to put too much, too many words, too many words, too much. Like, no, 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 we need breathing space. And so I hadn't ever thought about,
Emphasis.
and even I have a friend that we're like, oh, we need margin. And if you think about margin is like what we work with, then the crop marks, right? And it's like,
Totally.
where's the breathing space? And I hadn't
You
ever connected that to
to life. Yeah.
design and life exactly in that way. I don't know. I got chills. That was just a neat, beautiful expression.
I like that a lot. And I think of it like one thing I tell clients a lot is when you emphasize everything, you emphasize nothing. And I
Yes.
think that that kind of relates to life as well. Like when you try and, especially with kids and activities, when you try and do everything, then you're not doing anything well. And I think it's a good thing to teach them. I mean, so many people are overscheduled right now. I mean,
Right.
we don't do that. We just don't. And I think we'd be crazed if we did.
I am at the other end. I empty nest, and I got
Right.
grandkids starting in on back to the elementary school days again,
Cool.
and I was just super fun to be this young and to do that. And
Yeah.
people look at my life and I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I did not do this in the elementary years. I was not on 17, different. I say I'm not on 17 committees. I like really even restrain on like how many nonprofit engagements I have, even though I am empty nest.
Yeah.
I do have a lot more time just because I have a limited brain capacity
Totally.
about who gets my shower time, I think.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's hard enough, I mean, that what I described takes really everything you've got day in and day out. And, you've got to leave a little room for yourself there
Uh-huh.
too. I work on some collage art I've kind of gotten back into lately. So that's kind of been my latest me thing. Also, getting outside on that trail on our bikes and scooters, that's just also good for downtime and headspace. But it
Uh-huh.
is true. You've got to pick kind of where you give, especially give your time. I mean, that can be really hard and it can change year to year, but I
Yeah.
think that's really interesting. Cool, cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad you related all that. I think it's neat.
That is cool. Is there a woman in your life, and not necessarily famous or real, but whose life or career makes you think that's the kind of woman I might want to be someday? Like that's
No,
who
that's
might I
hard.
aspire to be? Yeah.
To me, I'll be more general than I can really think of specifically, but I really do like watching women who have balance. I feel like balanced it well and have this career that they're proud of and that they love. And so many of these are my good friends now, like, okay, she's doing it and she's there at home when she needs to be, but not losing yourself, being able to keep that balance and keeping tabs on it. So I think just that kind of woman in general is really who I try and be and look up to, and trying to look for that when you meet people.
I want to ask you about criticism
Okay.
because I would imagine in our industry there's a lot of criticism. And how do you roll with criticism? What
It's
advice would you give to young people?
it takes time to get used to it and build that skin, to not take it personally and kind of put the emphasis on the project and the good of the project. I'm lucky right now because I'm at a place where clients really are pretty receptive to ideas and directions. But when they're not and you don't agree and it comes out kind of as criticism for that, it's just hard. And I think you have to put it in its place. I think that's the best advice. Take it for what it is. It's a day in the life. It doesn't define you. Everybody doesn't have to like you. And just kind of stick to what your gut is telling you. Try and learn from the experience and move on.
Love it. Love it, love it. I find myself having great advice, and then when I'm in the moment, I sometimes forget
Living it
my
is different.
advice.
Yeah.
I just like somebody's like, "Why are you getting so defensive? We're just talking about the idea." And I was like, I don't feel defensive. I don't I'm sorry I sounded." Anyway, so I think
Yeah.
that was
It
this
comes
week.
across that way when you're passionate about something though too,
Yeah.
because you care. It's like a real like frustrating thing sometimes when, okay, I took the time to really think about this for you and presented 4 ideas, directions based on everything you told me. And 3 were steeped in strategy and 1 was what not to do and why. And you picked the one that you're not, and you're just like, oh, wow. Okay.
And then you wonder why I sound defensive.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good example.
Okay, well, before this gets into therapy.
Yeah, really. Exactly.
I've got some rapid fire questions that everybody's
Okay.
answering.
So these
So,
are
the
just gut check
just
answer, right?
yep, rapid fire. The job you wanted when you were 10 years old.
Oh, paleontologist. It was very
Yeah, you
dinosaur.
did.
Di
Dinosaurs. Yes, I love it. Beach, mountains, city, or staycation?
Man, beach right now sounds great. Perfect. Sun, chill, water. I love it all.
Love it. A big bonus hits your account today. What's the first thing you do with it?
Oh, I probably would put that away for tomorrow to
There you go. Describe your work wardrobe in 3 words. Go.
intentional, comfortable, and trying to be today, now,
Current.
current. Right.
There
That's
you
the word.
go.
Current. Current.
All right. The one goal you have not told anyone about yet. Are you ready to say it out loud?
Mm. I think it has to do with art and being able to one day have a show or a presence or gallery presence, something beyond work for art, I mean, communication design work, but actually bringing my artwork to life. We'll
Brittany,
see.
this has been so fun.
Yeah,
We have some designers and I know there's a lot of females in our industry that'll appreciate that we got represented and it's not just all realtors and bankers. So thanks
exactly.
for
It's going to be awesome. And I'm
thank
going to be lucky enough for the event to be the moderator. And so I'm going to get to ask the questions and facilitate the conversation. So I'm super excited about that and kind of representing the communication industry through that conversation. So I hope you're there.
yeah, for
We
sure.
can have a glass of wine before and calm my nerves.
I love it. I love it. That sounds wonderful. Everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you at the event.
All right. Thanks so much, Angela.